You know, there's certain places that I just belong. I just feel home. It just feels like it was calling me. It just feels like, where's Stephen A? Where's Stephen A? So I decided to show up at the Cowboys. And guess who I'm hanging out with today?
Did you take a wrong turn?
You could be nice to me. You could be nice. Stephen A. Smith show in the house. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I will call this a special edition, even though I'm usually coming at you 3 times a week over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. This is a special edition because I'm usually going to give you an opening monologue. I might give you a closing remark. I might talk about a whole bunch of things, but not today. I'm not wasting a second of time talking to you all on my own because I have a very, very special guest. He is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys himself. The man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Jerry Jones. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Well, it is special to be special.
How you doing?
With you.
It's great to be here with you. Let's get this out of the way right now. It's great to see you. It's great you look good. You seem like you're feeling good. How are you feeling about your Cowboys this upcoming season, sir?
Well, I feel a lot better than some of the critiques that maybe I'm getting more than they are, but I'm sensitive to them. Okay. But I'm frankly a little surprised. I'm surprised that it isn't more apparent to fans that we put an outstanding team together. I think the team is in better shape to roll than it was last year.
Really?
And I do. And we got criticized in the offseason about that we weren't out after the big names in free agency. We were criticized because we had some special, or have had special contracts for some key players with, frankly, in my opinion, most of the thing to watch for on those key veteran players, Lamb, of course, Dak Prescott,
of course,
and maybe even Parsons.
Okay.
The key thing to remember about them is, except for Lamb, that's not this year. That's not 2004.
Right.
That's about the future from 2004. Okay. I'm talking about the discussion, the contracts, of those type of things. And of course, I'm wearing it on my sleeve a little bit because I actually, Steve, I am a pleaser.
Okay.
It bothers the hell out of me to really get critiqued and criticized, especially if they're getting near the red meat. And they're getting in there where I'm double sensitive about it. But there's not many things about the Cowboys that I'm not sensitive about.
Right. Well, it's hard to see because, I mean, you look, every time I turn around, you got a smile on your face. And you should, by the way, because a franchise that's worth over $10 billion, practically double of what the average salary of the average franchise in the NFL is worth, that's a lot to smile about. But I'll go back to you when you talked about getting to the red meat and being sensitive. Specifically, when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, here's where I've been critiqued. I've been critical. I thought you should have went and got Derrick Henry. I thought that monster of a running back out of the backfield was somebody that could be a security blanket for somebody like Dak Prescott. That's the only thing that I thought about when it came to you guys and what I thought you were lacking. Answer me that question. Why didn't you go after Derrick Henry?
First of all, we might have a little difference as to what we were lacking the most.
Fair enough.
It is very common, matter of fact, the rule, that when you look at a coming season, you've got some soft spots in a football team or in any team, I think. And so it's a question of where do your resources, where do they need the areas that need the most attention? And candidly, I thought in Zeke that we really had an opportunity. I know that how badly he wanted to get back with the Cowboys. I personally thought that his work there in New England was better than maybe a lot of other people evaluated it. I thought he
fair.
did carry the mail in some critical times for them. And by the way, I saw those old boys getting up with that Jimmy Brown look, the way those players used to look when I was watching him on television, and they'd look like they'd just hit a brick wall, or an old Jimmy had just ease up. I saw some of that still in the way that New England with Zeke got the job done in the running game.
Right.
I have more belief that Zeke gives us what we need in our short yardage than maybe a lot of fans do.
You clearly didn't have any doubts about CeeDee Lamb. He's clearly one of the best wide receivers in the world. Nevertheless, when everybody and their grandmother looked at it and said, this is his market value, 4 years, about $136 million, about $34 million per year, what have you, we sort of knew that ultimately the conclusion that was reached would be reached. Yet it took you practically all summer and all off season to make the deal happen. Why was that?
Now let me get this straight.
Yes, sir.
We're not we're questioning whether or not I had the same evaluation of CeeDee Lamb because I was a little slow in people's opinion about getting him on paper.
Okay.
When he got on paper, did you see how much went on paper?
Yeah, I did.
Now, the same guy that was slow is the one that wrote that number on that paper and signed it.
Right.
There was never any question about how we felt CeeDee Lamb was as a football player or what he could do to basically help our team.
But, Jerry, that's what feeds into my question. We know you didn't doubt it. We can see that. So somebody is looking at Jerry Jones and they're saying, this man knows what he's doing. He knows what a talent he has. He knows he's going to sign this guy. What takes him so long? So how do you answer the question about what took you so long when you knew exactly what he was worth and what you were going to do in the end?
I haven't, and I'm not trying to be cute,
okay,
but I don't see any rewards or I don't see any penalties on your timer. On does he get on the field, and is he on the field when he ought to be out there? And so I had no urgency at all about getting him to the field. Now I'm sensitive about what fans and all of the ones that are against the Cowboys as well as all the ones that are for the Cowboys. And I want to look good as well as anyone else. But it was important for us to, on every aspect, to really try to husband as much of the resources that would go in Lamb's direction. It was critical for us to husband $1,000, $50,000, $100,000, because in our system, that's that much more that we've got to pay Parsons, or that's that much more for us to pay that young offensive lineman that we want to renew his contract 3 years from now. It's a zero-sum game. And by the way, this isn't the world's smallest fiddle here. Boy, I'm so lucky to get to do this. But also know that just because you have $1,000 in your bank account, have you ever thought that you may owe $3,000 back over here in bills? And so when you see that and you say, well, I've got the money, I'm going to go do it, unless you look around the corner a little bit, you may not be able to do it. I'm looking at all times, certainly the short-term part of any contract with any player. But I'm also looking longer term. I have to look 3 years down the road, if you will, sometimes maybe 5 years down the road. I have a very good feel, as good as anybody, about what the future is going to be for the teams in the NFL regarding revenue. I understand it very well. I've spent 35, 40 years doing almost nothing but thinking about NFL, the revenues.
This is your 36th year coming up. This is your 36th year coming up.
36 year. Yes. And by the way, I coveted being in the NFL. I was looking at it 4 or 5 years before that.
You wanted a piece of the Chargers at the time, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. My point, without being long-winded, is this is a long-range life that you have to deal with in intermittent short-term decisions in many cases. CeeDee's contract had everything to do with how important he was to the future of the Dallas Cowboys. It had everything to do with rewarding him for how he had evolved as a key player for the Dallas Cowboys. But it also had everything to do with how he was going to fit in our picture years down the road.
By the way, this is the Stephen A. Smith Show. You ain't being edited. You can be as long-winded as you want to. Don't worry about anything. It's going to be in there. We're not cutting.
Quit kicking me on the ankle.
We're not cutting out anything. But let me transition from CeeDee Lamb to your quarterback, and I'm going to be very delicate with what I'm asking because we all know what's going on with Dak Prescott, and there are things I'm smart enough to know that while a negotiation is taking place. You understand what I'm saying? Only a fool talks about their own negotiations while their negotiations are taking place. I would know that from personal experience right now. But I have to ask you, when you talk about looking ahead and looking to the future, how much of that thought process is applicable to your quarterback, considering what the quarterback market has dictated with everybody from Trevor Lawrence to Joe Burrow to Jordan Love? The list goes on and on. How much does that factor into your thinking, knowing what the market says it is about the most important position in football, which is the quarterback position?
Well, I'll tell you this. You've nailed it with your question and the ground that you have to cover. Dak is a long-term decision for the Dallas Cowboys. I think Dak, one of his unique things is that he's going to be able to, his makeup, what he is, his skill levels, what he is as a person and a quarterback will age well as you look at quarterback age and viability. I think it will age well as he moves into the next 5 or 10 years of his life. I think he's the kind of quarterback that gets better and better. That we certainly know that time, oh Father Time, that it makes a big difference as we get older. But quarterback is a place that experience can manifest itself in wins. Also, the hard times, the mistakes that have been made, if you've got the right kind of makeup, that's a plus. You need rewarded for having gone through that because you, not Stephen A. I'm pointing to, I'm talking about Dak Prescott, you know how to use a hard time and turn it into an asset. He does that. It's one of his qualities.
What evidence is there of that, though, Jerry? Because I'm thinking about postseason. I know that he's been absolutely phenomenal in the regular season. He wins in September, October, November. In the month of December, I think his record is like 21-8. But then January comes, the record is 4-8. And last time I checked, when you started here, 36 years ago, it didn't take you long to get a first ring, then a second ring, and then a third ring inside of 4 years. And the Dallas Cowboys were loaded with a level of success that we still revere to this very day. At what point do you look at your quarterback and say, when are you going to give it to me in January?
You're so good. You're so good. No, I mean it. And I appreciate it because you literally have gone through the steps of thinking that I've evolved, not just over the last weeks, months, but over the years. There is a case where you have to think that something's going to happen that hasn't happened yet. Otherwise, you're sitting right there with everybody else having measured the experience. In Dak's case, I look at his basic great qualities. And then I fundamentally see someone that is getting better. I think he got better with Mike, with coaching him directly as his offensive coordinator. I think he has improved since the day that he got here, if you really want to look at that.
So you think he was better last year with Mike McCarthy as both the head coach and the play caller than he was when Kellen Moore was here as the offensive coordinator?
Well,
is that fair?
Without diminishing or demeaning Kellen, he was definitely better last year. Definitely. And by the way, room to get better, room to grow. I think that's a fact. The other thing is that he's got last year in his heart and in his framework of reference. He's got that and the disappointments that went with it, some of the positive that went with it. He's got that to use this year. Physically, yes, I think he's getting better. I do want to recognize, though, that as you get older, then some of that is diminished. This is a position, though, that long-term experience can really pay off for you. Now, here's the way that I look at it completely is that when you look at what he brings to the table as opposed to the alternative, the alternative is not a one-year alternative. It's a several-year alternative. Fair. So when you look at the prospects of the likelihood of him over the next 5 years knocking on that door, I like those odds. And that, to me, is where you go. You pull the trigger on it. Now, it's very important that we have a way to reconcile this with Dak, because we've had the benefit of a lot of supporting cast with Dak over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yes.
Would you give us that?
Yes, I would, in a heartbeat.
Okay, so we've had a lot of supporting cast. There's no question that with Dak having been very well paid over the last 4 or 5 years.
$157.4 million over the last 4 years.
Over the last 4.
That's right.
There's no question that I got some of that off my credit card.
Okay.
In other words, I spent some money that I didn't have. Very common in the NFL. Matter of fact,
and common with you, because that's
practice.
what you did when you first bought the Cowboys.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It very much is. But you certainly, I'd like to say I did then too, but I had a passion that I wanted to get involved that I scratched then that I'm not scratching that passion as much right now. I'm trying to be real practical, at least in this explanation to you. But the facts are that not only have we had great supporting cast around Dak, we have also spent some of the money that we've got to spend on Dak in the future. That went in on his last contracts. That's the way the cap works, and that's usually when you have a high-priced quarterback, what you do. So we have the challenge of not only recouping what we have spent on him over the last 4 years, we've got to add that to what we're going to be paying him for the future. Now, that's not Dak's problem, only in that it's the Dallas Cowboys problem, because that money is not going to be there to spend on supporting cast. And so we've got to ask ourselves, can we have the kind of success that Dak deserves, we deserve, his teammates deserve, our fans deserve? Can we do that and get in the range to afford Dak? I think we can.
I want to take just a few seconds to make sure everyone knows out there. It's the first week of the NFL season, and I couldn't be more excited. I've been waiting for this for months, obviously, as all of you have as well. You know why? Because the best part is that Prize Picks has got you covered. That's right. You see, while all these big-time games are happening, Prize Picks is going to make sure you have an opportunity to cash in. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports app where you can select 2 or more of your favorite players and then pick more or less on their projected in-game stats, okay? And it's not just football. Oh, no. It has something for every sport you love to watch, from Major League Baseball to the WNBA to tennis and everything in between. You can pick Mahomes, Angel Reese, and Juan Soto, all in the same entry, y'all. I make my picks and submit early, all in less than 60 seconds. And get this, sign up with code SAS, and Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on Prize Picks, and you'll get $50 instantly. So go to prizepicks.com right now. Pick more. Pick less. It really is that easy.
I'm going to throw some numbers by you. I'm going to throw this your direction. From 2016 to 2019, your Dallas Cowboys ranked dead last in cash spending. Dead last. From 2021 to 2023, you ranked 30th. People talk about you today in terms of the trend continuing because as of mid-August, last month, you ranked dead last in 2024 cash spending. This is what they say. I wonder, when you look at yourself being the brilliant businessman that you are, because nobody can deny it. I'm just telling you, I'm going to editorialize at this point. Nobody can deny what a brilliant businessman you are.
Let's don't go overboard.
I'm going to go overboard. But I will ask this question. How would you describe yourself as a businessman right now with one of these three words? Brilliant, frugal, or cheap? What would you say best describes you as a businessman at this moment in time in today's NFL climate?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very fair question to ask. I grew up being taught to have a big front door and a small back door.
Okay.
Get a lot in and let as little out as you can.
Right.
That was fundamental. What I would tell you is that if you look at any team in the NFL, over a period of time, we spend the same amount of cash. We do. We just defer it in different ways or at different times. Now, I don't want to waste my or your time here, but I will tell you there are many ways to try and win a Super Bowl. Many ways. Sometimes your coaches that you've gotten have a preference for this size player.
Okay.
They have a preference for this emphasis on the talent on the team, where it is, formations, all of those kinds of things. So that has to be reconciled with the coaching philosophy and, if you will, the coaching techniques that are there at that particular time. The more continuity you can have in that, then the better you can manage the salary cap. The better you can do that. We've had some really good continuity since Dak has been here. We had Jason Garrett, and then we had Mike, who came in with Kellen Moore over and working more closely with Dak. That is paying off for us. But we really did in Dak's early years because we didn't pay under his initial contract at the level that Dak performed because he was a fourth-round draft pick.
Right.
So by rights, he wants to play not catch up. He just wants to let's get up to snuff, Jerry, and let's go. I get all of that, and I do. We have done that over these last 4 or 5 years. We've got our work cut out for us over these next several years to reconcile being able to do what Dak deserves, what he might be able to get someplace else, at the same time put together a supporting cast around him. That's got to be done with some young players. That can't be done with just cherry picking out here in free agency and getting high price players, running back that you mentioned earlier. I'm a little reluctant to mention names. I'm seasoned to that.
Please, don't worry about it.
It's called tampering.
There we go.
But my point is that you can't have it all. I was, right after I got to Cowboys, I flew over to where I was living right after announcing I was going to buy the Cowboys. And I flew over on a little Lear jet. And the car that picked me up, and I had a reporter on that plane with me. And the car that picked me up was a 5-year-old muddy Bronco, Ford Bronco at the time.
1989.
And the guy said, this is irrational. It doesn't make sense. You're on a jet and you fly on a jet, yet you get off on a muddy 55 Ford. What's wrong here? And I said, not one thing. You can't have it all. The way you get to drive a jet is to drive a 5-year-old muddy 55 Ford.
Right.
It's just a question of which way you want to go with the asset.
Do you have the faith that in this day and age, and I'm not talking about Dak here, I'm just speaking in general, this culture of NFL players, the youth that comes associated with it, the times that we're living in, do you have faith that players today would get that breakdown, that message that you just articulated?
Oh, I don't know that they would get it when it comes to the rationale when you're talking to them about their money.
Yeah.
They may get it when they look at the overall concept of the team, or may get it when you look at the overall players in the NFL. But Stephen, when it's your money, my money, your money, we have a little bit less rationale, or we have a little bit less tolerance for, let me show you a reasonable reason why this isn't going to work. There's not enough to go around to get us both where we want to go. That usually falls on some deaf ears when you're talking about mine and your negotiation. And that's not the issue, but that's one of the issues. There's always time or always a way to make it work. Let's just don't work it on my time. Let's just don't work it on my contract. I get that. I really do get it, and I'm sympathetic about that. But that's just part of what you have to work through.
Is the flip side looking at them and saying, but you are playing for the Cowboys. This is the brand, the number one brand in all of sports. As much as I hate to admit it, Jerry, it's the number one brand in sports. Jerry, there I said it for public consumption.
You've helped make it the number one brand in sports. Well, I want you to know that.
I know.
You really have.
You told me that on several occasions. The Cowboys, the star on the helmet, the billion-dollar playpen that is AT&T Stadium, Jerry's World, as folks affectionately call it. Do you believe that allure is something that should come into consideration when you're talking to any player about playing for this franchise?
Well, I certainly do, and I'm one of the best ambassadors you've ever seen for the Dallas Cowboys and the star. I can be because I literally sacrificed and gambled what was an idiot move to be involved with the Cowboys. I actually had some money, and I gave it all and then signed up to 2 or 3 times that to buy the Dallas Cowboys. Right. So I'm a living, breathing person that believes in the star. In addition to that, because of the way things have gone over the last 30-something years, no one can talk about how good the NFL is for you, or how good, and for that matter, the Cowboys, or how good this game is, and how it benefits you. No one has benefited any more than I have. And so that I am a good practicer of that, and I will tell you that if you will look around the corner a little bit, not all have it right this second, because it sure wasn't here immediate when I got involved with the Cowboys. Matter of fact, most things I've ever been in my life didn't have immediate killer benefits or killer returns. If you can, as a player, look around the corner a little bit, look years down the road, I think you will see some of the benefits of the Dallas Cowboys. One of the things that I guess I'm the most rewarded by, not proud of, rewarded by, is that I'm partners with many of our ex-players. I'm partners with players that played here 20 and 30 years ago. And we do things together financially. We do things together to get involved in their careers. They're my life. Just like being with anybody 20 years ago, if you had a intense relationship, if you had a great experience, those guys become your buddies. And when they come in and they're a little wounded, buddies help buddies. Or when they come in and got an opportunity, then let old Jerry get involved with you a little way. By the way, those same guys, I can't tell you the time they reached out and helped old Jerry in these last 30.
They swear by you.
When I have been on a knee, and believe it or not, I get on a knee. I do. We all do. Many times, I've stumbled, and I've had help from my ex-players, if you will. So that's what happens when you spend your life together. Now, that is a fact. I'm not personally going to be around forever, but that is a fact. So do I try to share that? Do I not share it, but do I try to talk that when I'm visiting with a player about it's better to be here? There's no state income tax in Texas.
I'm fully aware.
As you are well aware of.
Very
and
well
so
aware.
do it out in California or any place else, and you won't take home as much. All of that has a place. Now, you got to understand something. I'm sitting here. I've given a lot of my life, and I'm going to tell you something. Nobody appreciates what a football player, the things that have gone through him. I know the times when it didn't look good. It happens to everybody. I know the times when you're hurt. I get it all. So I admire the guys that play this game. But I would like for them to enjoy life after football. And the Cowboys enable you to do that. We've got some guys that are good on television. Doesn't just take you baseball players or basketball
I mean,
players.
I beat them up constantly, but I get what you're saying.
But
I
you
mean,
see what I mean.
they're good when they're going up against somebody other than me, because I don't let the Cowboys beat me.
And well, let me say this, and I've got that, but also the opportunity is there playing for the Cowboys if you will listen and know how to use it. You got to know how to spread the Cowboy peanut butter on the cracker, and it'll help you down the road.
Hold that right there, because that's a perfect segue into getting into you, because I want to talk a little bit more about Jerry Jones, not just the Cowboys. You're watching the Stephen A. Smith Show right here. We'll be right back in a minute after we take care of our sponsors.
It pays to get paid on Cash App. Some people think paying overdraft fees is unavoidable. When you deposit your paycheck on Cash App, you can get up to $50 in free overdraft coverage. Having a little cushion to give you peace of mind at no extra cost is a very beautiful thing. If you could deposit your paycheck on Cash App and get up to $50 in overdraft coverage at no cost, would you? I'm talking about up to $50 in free overdraft coverage. A little peace of mind in case of oversight at no extra cost. Now that's something to think about. Stop sitting on the bench with people who can't play and get into the game with Cash App. So once again, getting paid on Cash App isn't just convenient. Cash App has got you covered. It pays to get paid on Cash App. That's money. That's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I am with the one and only Jerry Jones, owner for the Dallas Cowboys. I mentioned this is entering your 36th season as owner for the Dallas Cowboys. How much time do you walk around feeling like you have left? You alluded earlier to Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and looking ahead and thinking ahead, Micah Parsons and others. But that's somebody speaking about the luxury of time. I've seen you in the past you've quoted yourself, I don't have much time. What's your mentality like right now?
Well, I had a great friend, and his motto I'm going to borrow, and that's that I don't have time to have a bad time. It ain't on my schedule.
Right. Schedule.
And so, having said that, I can
sounds
count.
like Michael Irvin, but I'm not going to say that was him, but it sounds like him.
Let's give it to Michael.
Let's give it
That's
to
our
Michael.
little secret.
Right.
But still, I can count. And I will say this, I was involved in a medical issue about 10 years ago, and the radiologist came in, and I was in under an assumed name in this hospital, not my name. And he said, Mr. Chambers, he said, I just wanted to meet you. And he said, you have the brain of a 30-year-old. And I said, my wife was sitting in there. I said, you get that, honey? I said, I want you to listen to that good, and you other doctors. And I haven't let them up about it since that particular time. Now, I don't know about that. I'm busier than I have ever been. I get to do more exciting things than I ever have. There's no question, Stephen, that this team, I could have never, ever guessed it. When I bought the Cowboys, was living a dream. I got to do something that I'd thought about a better part of my adult life. And there was nothing that hurt me at the time. I got sued. I had 3 $1 billion lawsuits hit me at the same time I bought the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. In 1989?
In 1989, 90, and 91. And it was like I was Jimmy Brown running, and they're bouncing off of me. I was worried about getting the Cowboys solvent and getting them to where they'd work. Knew easily some of the pitfalls that were out there. But it caused me to really try things, and it caused me to do some things, and they worked. And I said, man, I'll do that again, and I'll do that again. And the bottom line is, and it's an inspiration for me on Follow Your Passion, I could have never been anything that I've been involved in over the last 30 years had it not been for the Cowboys. It made me something that I was not, and caused me to have some confidence, caused me to try things, caused me to really be around inspirational people. I love this stuff. And it has inspired me, and consequently, here I am, 82, and the busiest I've ever been in my life.
The busiest you've ever been, obviously the most, noted owner in the sport, most popular owner in the sport, if not the world of sports. Nobody debates that, but they do look at the fact that it's entering 29 years since you guys have played in an NFC Championship game or gotten to a Super Bowl. Now, here's what I've said. I've looked at numerous rosters you've put together, and I said, damn it, they got the talent. He did his job there. The critique, however, I would throw in 7 head coaches since you last won the Super Bowl, and only 5 playoff wins in that span. You hear that number, you hear those stats. What comes through your mind? How do you feel?
The big thing that I'm disappointed in is that I got a chance to have a player on the Cowboys at the same time, Tony Romo, and we didn't get a Super Bowl. Now, that's a shortcoming. What did I not do that contributed to that?
2-4 in the playoffs, his record.
And my point is, yes, disappointing, but you really can't do, for me, what I do. If you don't go over and dwell on at the same time, you're evaluating your shortcomings, you've got to reach over and grab you a little of the good things that have happened to you. And I truly have had it so good in my lifetime. I've had great parents. I've been around some of the greatest friends in the world. People have enabled me. My best thing is that I've had 10 different people in my lives give me grace, forgive me, give me grace, help me. When you got all of that, fussing about not winning a Super Bowl last year, I want to clear you out of the way. Lightning's going to strike me. I've had it too good. Now, that's how I do it. That doesn't suffice for the responsibility I feel to our fans and to the people that are great sports folks and great fans. But I will say this, it gives me a lot of resolve. No one that knows me would think that you take any of these evaluations about sports teams, and I say that almost sounding condescending, and I'm not. Take anything tangible, valuable. No one would understand more than the people around me that I'd give all that for a first down at the right time. I'd give it all for a touchdown at the right time, or certainly a win, much less in a championship game or a Super Bowl. Nothing has changed. I was stupid. I took a bigger risk than anybody I've ever heard about to get to be involved in the NFL and football. So I didn't get here for money. I didn't come for money. I came here to win.
But you also, this is what it has had people just a bit, perplexed. I don't know what the right word for it, a bit befuddled. You come into the National Football League. You take the chances you took. What's one of the first things you did? You got rid of Tom Landry.
Yep.
You took a big risk. You brought in Jimmy Johnson. The world was against you. And you won. But some people thought you held on to Jason Garrett too long. Other people look at you with Mike McCarthy now. They're wondering if you're holding on to him too long. Bill Belichick was out there in the open market this past season. 6-time Super Bowl champion. They look at you. Tony Romo, you loved him to death, all right? You wanted to hold on to him too long. I mean, Dak basically got that by default because if Tony Romo was healthy enough and could play, Dak Prescott wouldn't have been starting his rookie year. You wasn't having that because as much love as you have for Tony Romo. There's evidence that the same Jerry Jones, who was a shrewd businessman and did whatever it took to win, hasn't necessarily been the same guy in that regard when it comes to certain members of his personnel that he has an affection for. What do you say to that?
Well, two things. I'm glad you didn't mention Lucille or Juanita because you've done your homework on me.
Okay.
I'm impressed
well, thank
on
you so
that
much.
very much.
Right.
But having, along those points, same person, same guy that was sitting here that bought the Cowboys, same guy that, Paul Tagliabue asked me one time after we'd won our Super Bowls, he said, would you head a committee to coach up owners on how to hire coaches? You've done so well that I'd like for you to head the committee. Mm-hmm. And I said, Commissioner, I need to be out in the audience. Mm-hmm. I've run out of teammates. I don't know how to hire a coach.
Right.
And so I was cutting and shooting. And you're absolutely right. Ignorance can be bliss at times. Mm-hmm. And certainly Coach Landry, I made certainly a PR mistake, but probably he had many years that he could have been a great coach in the future for the NFL. Mm-hmm. And far be it from me to even judge that. But here is the point. The same thing, the very same thing that made those decisions there, make them now. The only thing is that I would say that I haven't taken the risks of the magnitude of the risks that I took early. Mm-hmm. I've slowed down on that risk part of it a little bit.
Because?
I like what we're doing with our philosophy of developing young players. Mm. Now, that hadn't been here for the last 30 years, but it's certainly been here for the last 5 or 10 years. The salary cap has altered the way that I look and rationale putting a team together. Okay. That salary cap. Sometimes some of the same thing. You know, different people have input when you move a general manager in and out. And frankly, we've had owners move in and out of the NFL as well.
Right.
Different people look at this lay of the land different than I do. And so the idea that I'm going to be living with whatever I do 12 years from now, 10 years from now, that idea may have impacted the decisions that I make today. I'm sure they have. And so I can look and say the same guy's doing it, the same guy willing to change that guy in the mirror. Stephen, I have made so many mistakes, period, in my day. I've made them. And I know that most people do make mistakes, but I've made some that took me years to recover from. And so there's no sure thing in those decisions. I do feel, and this may be where the rub comes, I don't feel at that level of decision making for this team, for this situation, is there's someone better than me. I don't. To think, though, that I don't change philosophy regarding our football team is wrong.
Well, I agree with that, and I totally believe you when you say that, but I would say in terms of I know that you will modify, you will try to change, but you're the owner, you're the president, you're the GM, you run the show, you make the decisions. If somebody was in the position that you're in, but they answered to you, and they went 28 seasons without making it to a conference championship game, let alone the Super Bowl, what would you do?
Well, I would say the one most responsible for it is the guy they're answering to, me. And that's what I've said from the very beginning. There's no slipping away from it. the buck stops. It does stop. It stops right here. And that doesn't mean much if it's just for show. Or that doesn't mean much if there's not some tears and some sweat and blood that goes with it.
What about those who argue it's not a consequence because at the end of the day, you're not going to remove yourself, so you don't really have to pay the price for whatever mistakes you make because you're not getting rid of you, as most of us wouldn't get rid of ourselves?
Well, of course. But that is absent a little deal called paying that price. You think for 1 minute that the way our season ended last year, there isn't anybody on this earth that bothered any more than me. No one. There's been no one that looks back that really can live with how long it's been since we've been with the Super Bowl. Do you think that I literally do go in here and say, well, but how many people have won 3 Super Bowls? Okay, do you think I say, of course I do not.
Right.
I do not say that. I look at it as that was then, this is now. But I do look at it that way, in that sense that 10 years ago, we obviously didn't win a Super Bowl. We had a different coach. That was then, this is now. Let's go do it now. Now, I've done this and things away from football all my life. And I have discarded, I have gone in different directions, and I've gone in different businesses. The guy in the mirror is the man that I change out.
It's interesting because even though I bring up the lack of success in terms of a championship, when you bring up the name Jerry Jones to anybody in the NFL, do you know I haven't found one single person associated with the NFL that has denied that you're worthy of the Hall of Fame? Everybody acknowledges that you're worthy of the Hall of Fame. Everybody acknowledges what you've done for the NFL. Broadcast rights, TV rights deals, you know, the marketing, the merchandising, all the things that you've done to elevate the profile of the National Football League, the committees that you've been on, that you've spearheaded. The NFL, and I know several officials within the NFL, for teams, league office, players associated, etc., all say we owe Jerry Jones an incredible debt of gratitude for what he has done for the National Football League. In your eyes, what have you done for the National Football League?
Well, I know this. I've got to say it's what the National Football League, and frankly, football, has done for me. And I go to those meetings with as much zip in my step and as much excitement as I was going to them 30 years ago when we have a meeting right now. This thing inspires me. Early, that inspiration caused me to, if you will, be very aggressive. Be very aggressive. Well, I was motivated to be aggressive. It was called the hounds were after me. The dead hounds were after you. On the other hand, I had, by getting to participate in sport in formative years, I learned that this day too shall pass. I had to really call on myself to be a football player. It hurt me. My trainer one time is from Virginia, said, Jones, you've got to have the lowest tolerance for pain of any kid we've ever had at this school. And I said, well, Granny, it hurts me more than it does the rest of them, damn it. I deserve a medal to be out here.
Right.
It shakes me up when I get hit. Well, my point is, it called on me. I lived in daydreams. I would walk around before the practices, and I would dream about being something else. And for that matter, I would dream about owning a football team. I saw Art Modell on the cover, I think it was Look or Life magazine. And there he had moved from the advertising over to be the owner of the Cleveland Browns. And they said, here comes a advertising TV man into the league. What is he going to do? And he was sitting there with 2 beautiful children and a Hollywood a wife who was a movie star. And I told my buddy I was riding with on the team bus, that's me. That's me. That's who I want to be, right there.
Art Modell.
Art Modell.
The same person, the same Art Modell, okay, if I remember correctly, that was pushing for the league to once take a pay cut with the broadcast rights deal, and you fought him and ultimately won? That same Art Modell?
That same Art Modell, who I, of course, admired and still admire. And it was rough. He was very critical. And he told me when I was trying to get the votes to vote against accepting a pay cut from the rights fees. The networks had come to us, wanted a pay cut.
Yeah.
And he shook his finger in my face and he said, do you realize we've got to make payroll and plan 2 and 3 years out? And you're saying maybe don't have a contract. Do you know what? You don't know what it's like to have to do that, Jerry. All I did know was that if I was going to get my nose blooded, that I might as well put it off. Because I might get hit by a car and not have gotten that nose blooded while I was on Earth,
right,
so to speak. So I was putting it off. I didn't have an answer, is my point. And so I would tell you that was an impressive thing, made you want to get in and do the very best that you could. But my point is that I love the National Football League. No church, no family, no school, no business, no person can be what God, be the athlete, be the talent they are, if their ass is hanging out and they don't have no money. And so that's the way that the NFL was. And it needed, the model was not working. And the model does work, and consequently, one of the things that makes it work is its financial foundation. And that's why we're always looking at that. And if you, so I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of that at all. What's missing here is the fact that maybe someone thinks that because I don't want to win a ball game, I don't want to win a Super Bowl as much as I don't want to make a buck. That's bull stuff. That really is. That's not the way it works. Anybody that really knows me is that I'd trade 2/3, a third of whatever percent you want to call of what the Cowboys are supposed to be worth to get us to get one of those Super Bowls.
Because I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to ask you that question. I know the answer because you and I have gotten to know each other over the years, and I'm honored to say that. But I had to ask. I'm glad you just answered that for me because I'm thinking $10 billion valuation. Average salary in the NFL is worth about $5.7 billion. A couple of franchises have been sold for over $6 billion, but you're worth over $10 billion. But I was asking myself, he's making so much money, he's enjoying so much success. Is this the definition of winning to Jerry Jones? And you just answered that question.
Well, I'll say one other thing.
Sure.
I told my team, but we just finished training camp, but we opened training camp. And I told my team and the coaches, I could be anywhere in the world I want to be. I could be. I don't want to be anywhere else. I want to be right here with y'all. And I want to be out here, and I want to be agonizing with us vicariously, not in your shoes, guys. I don't want any of that. But I want to agonize with you on your pursuit to become an NFL player and be a part of the Cowboys. Because I want to be a part of that feeling when we walk out there together and win it. Now, money is not that. That's different, Stephen. Much different than that. And so, but I'll tell you this, money helps ease the pain. Yeah. It do. Yeah. It really does. I had this guy call me and he said, we're supposed to cut the questions off on a radio show. It had been a few years back. And he said, how does it feel, a guy of your stature, your pocketbook, how does it feel to have gotten it stuck up your, like that? And I said, well, I've had it stuck up there when I didn't have money, and I've had it stuck up there when I have some. Feels better when you got a little money. It's lubricated.
God. Oh, my Lord, you just used the word lubrication. Oh, my Lord. Listen, I got a few more questions before I let you get on out of here. Micah Parsons. We brought up CeeDee Lamb. We brought up Dak Prescott. We know this doesn't have to be the year that Micah Parsons is taken care of. I'm one of those dudes that have been on the record saying, I believe he's the face of the franchise. I think he's a monster. I say that in the most complimentary way imaginable. I think the brother is special, and I think he personifies what you should want the Cowboys to be. That's how I feel, but that's just little old me.
Well,
how does Jerry Jones feel about Micah Parsons?
Well, Stephen, as usual, you've got a hint of your own clue. But seriously, I saw where Mike Zimmer, our new defensive coach, former coach at Minnesota, said he's brilliant. Called him brilliant.
And dedicated.
Micah Parsons is probably the best athlete that I've ever been around. That's as a player, as well as being involved with the Dallas Cowboys. He's so unique. He's multifaceted. And what does that mean? He's got a lot of angles that he looks at things, just like he's got a lot of angles that he used to put pressure on that quarterback. So he is very special, and he's one of my picks. Now, Stephen and the rest of them, Will Clay, they pick some guys, but Micah's the guy that I pick. I'm joking when I say that because that's how proud I am of him. I believe that he's just started. And yes, I don't want to say face of a franchise because it takes a lot of faces to make it roll. He's special. You're
going from a 3-4 to a 4-3 on defense with Zimmer as the coach now. Obviously, you think he's going to flourish even more under Zimmer than he did under Quinn?
I think he can because this probably will give him unfair a little bit in critiquing those defenses, but it probably gives them a better chance to put somebody else in play, to put some pressure, thereby making it a problem to just double-team Michael all the time or triple-team him or just scheme against him.
How did you feel when DeMarcus Lawrence, who I like, I'm very fond of, but he showed up on national television on First Take Super Bowl week, and he said, we were a bit tired. You know, it's a heavy load, essentially alluding to playing for the Cowboys. There's a lot that comes with it. It ain't the typical franchise. Micah Parsons, I spoke to him that night on the air. He didn't take kindly to that at all. He said he didn't want to hear that at all. He didn't want to hear that at all. How shocked were you when you heard that DeMarcus Lawrence had said that, and how did you feel about it?
Well, frankly, I didn't give it the kind of serious consideration maybe it deserved. This thing is different. The Cowboys are different. There is a lot of visibility. But taking a toll on your competitive juices is not characteristic of DeMarcus Lawrence. He will go after them until they've gotten in the dressing room, got the street clothes on now. So you got to pay attention when he basically makes a comment. But in general, I have always thought that attention is inspirational. I played for a team in college that when we would practice, there would be days when 2,000 people would sit on a grass knoll 15 feet from our drill. And for me, I was a little down the line early, but it would make me play like I was in a bowl game out there on a Tuesday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon. So that kind of interest, that kind of cheering you on was inspirational. And I always thought that did that when we had our big crowds at training camp. A lot of people early didn't want to have crowds at training camp. I thought it was great and inspirational. You just want to, in that drill, you want to try to excel in that drill in front of all those people. I think that it's inspirational.
Some of the players that you've outwardly just shown such an incredible level of love and affection for mirrored that kind of thinking. When we mentioned the playmaker, who would doubt that he thought attention was an inspiration? We know the playmaker Michael Irvin thought attention was inspirational. Emmitt Smith, attention was inspirational. Troy Aikman, a quiet storm, still a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Attention was inspirational. The Charles Haley's of the world. The list goes on and on. No one says that about Dak Prescott, your quarterback. That's in line to get $55 to $60 million a year, Jerry Jones. How you feel about that?
I came along at the right time. I got a chance to be a part of this thing called the NFL. I didn't waste any time. I mean, I didn't let any grass grow under my feet. I grabbed it. And then I had a lot of running with the ball to do after I grabbed a hold of it. I think that we all are at a special place in time. Let's run it up the flagpole. Let's run it up the flagpole. The game itself is hard work. It takes little boys, big boys, fat boys, slim boys. It takes all kinds. Now, when they get in that huddle, everybody gets together and they kind of bleed alike, and they're on a team. They're a part of it. But all of that goes on. We're sitting here in Texas, and I'm telling you right now, football is a part of the earth and the trees around here. It's here. That's all there is
It's different.
to it. And girls have gone to heard about two-a-days all their lives in many cases. Football is a life around here. And most of it is hard work. Most of it is mundane. Dare I say that? But it's hard work and mundane. But guess what we do? We take a block and we take two big boys bumping into each other, and we make it into the Colosseum of Rome, and we make it like the Roman gladiators. And we put my town against your town. Here in Texas, they do that. Put my school against your school. In our case, it's the Browns against the Cowboys out there with that right there. We embellish it and make it bigger than life. Everybody benefits from that, and you help it.
And that's right. Well, I don't apologize for it because y'all deserve it, even though these fan base get on my nerves, but that's a different story for another day. I will say this. I think Dak Prescott is a star. I think he's a big-time player in the regular season. I think in the postseason, he's got some proving to do, and I think he has to have the kind of attitude you just articulated in order for him to get over the hump. One of my last couple of questions is this. We saw Jordan Love come out of nowhere and play lights out in the last half of the season last year and in the playoffs against you guys. We saw the Eagles acquire Saquon Barkley in the offseason to add to a formidable offensive team. We saw the Detroit Lions elevate themselves to relevancy, basically winning their first playoff game since 1957, for crying out loud. We see the San Francisco 49ers making a statement, keeping Ayuk, keeping their team intact. They don't intend on going anywhere. What's the path to success for the Dallas Cowboys in 2024, considering what I just outlined, sir?
We have drafted some very, very outstanding football players that should have gotten on the field more last year than they did. We bring in some free agents, and they still may be struggling to get on the field. They need to get on the field. We also drafted some pretty good ones this year. When you are fighting the salary cap bulge, and you want to have the supporting cast around Dak and have it around CeeDee and possibly even Micah, those young players are the ticket. They've got to come in and take up some of that slack for lack of salary cap. That's where we are. Last year, we had some that should have been on the field. They'll be out there, plus some of our young ones get on the field. Oh, I know that says, boy, there they are, counting on some rookies, counting on some young players, okay? But something's got to give. Something's got to give. We do want to keep these guys, and at the same token, we've spent the money. How do we do all of that? You do it by keeping it in your pocket during the high-price free agency. You do it by hopefully developing young players, and you do it by keeping the premium guys that you can possibly keep.
I pointed out, I think the mistake that you've made, the biggest mistake, is holding on for coaches too long. Bill Belichick was out there last year. You elected not to go that route, and you kept Mike McCarthy in place. Is he on the line?
Let me say,
2024.
Yeah. Let me say this. Nobody's out there. You say, and I agree with you. And Bill, my goodness, what an outstanding coach at all. But nobody's necessarily out there that I could have made this decision or not that decision. Mike McCarthy is an outstanding coach. we've had 12-win seasons for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you.
Second most to everybody in the
I
league. other than
agree
the
with
Chiefs.
you
Yeah.
that we have not had the playoff success
Yes.
that you would have wanted to have with a Super Bowl winning coach and Mike McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you firsthand, he's got outstanding ways with players.
Mm-hmm.
He's an outstanding coach, as hard a working coach as I've ever been around. He's an outstanding coach. What you're seeing, though, from me is just the way that I'm doing it right now. Certainly, I did not renew a lot of contracts. There's nothing to keep me from renewing a contract out here this afternoon. This is just the way that I wanted to do it so that we could basically speak to fans, team, everybody involved. We're putting things on the line. And by the way, I do feel it, Stephen. I'm not in any way trying to be smug here. I should really be in your shoes. Switch shoes with me. Get over here and be the general manager.
You know what? Listen, I'd try to pull it off, but I'd probably fail. I got to admit that.
You would. But I'm going to tell you something. You'd win some too, buddy.
I'd win some.
You would.
I'd win
There's
some
no
too.
doubt.
Let me throw this out at you, Jerry. This is crazy. I know this is. I can't even imagine it happening. What if I said to you, Jerry, Cowboys gonna lose again, and as a result, you're gonna find yourself feeling the need to make a change, and Jerry Jones decides one day down the road in the near future, assuming that he doesn't achieve the success that he covets, that he's going to hire primetime Deion Sanders as a head coach. That would be crazy. Is Jerry Jones crazy enough to do something like that someday?
No, but he does know how to spell well enough and not answer a hypothetical question.
Last question.
Hey, first of all,
Primetime loves you.
I started to say,
yes.
You are familiar with our, I'm going to use it, the love affair that
Yes.
we have. And I have always admired him, both on and off the field. Some of the best stories that I have to tell about my time in sports have been Deion-type stories with Deion and Michael and those guys. But Deion, I remember the one that I love the most is he came in to sign his big contract, $12 million bonus at the time. I had put a total cash out of my cash, $12 million down to buy the Cowboys. $12 million to buy the Cowboys. Now, I didn't have to come up with the full 150, but I used all of my cash. Before I gave that to Deion Sanders, I went back to my hometown, Little Rock, Rose City, North Little Rock, and I walked down my old street. And I walked down it when that quarter and that dollar used to be everything. Walked down there, saw some old chips on a tree and on a telephone pole that I'd knocked out. I turned around and walked back because I wondered, had something gotten over me? Had I completely lost it to be thinking about paying a man $12 million bonus to do it? I walked by my old house, went back over, got on that plane. That was then. This is now. I'm going for it. Went over, met Deion at the stadium. Never forget, came in, great to see him. The whole time we were waiting to go on stage and announce that he was going to be a Cowboy, he spent playing with that boy. And all he could pay attention to, had all these people around, it was that boy. And I said, that's the heart I want to be around right there.
Very last question. The legacy of Jerry Jones. We throw stuff like that out. People come up with their own definition, their own phrases, their own thoughts. From your lips to everybody's ears, when all is said and done, and we're talking about the legacy of Jerry Jones, what do you want it to be in the eyes of the many?
Well, first of all, I don't want it to be that much in terms of that. But in the sense of this word, he was a player. He played all the games. He was into it. And it might be over salary cap, it might be over TV, it might be against the Giants. He played the game. Player.
What an honor.
Hey.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. The one and only Jerry Jones right here with Stephen A. Smith on the Stephen A. Smith Show over here, the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I loved it. I know y'all will as well. I know y'all did as well. So thank y'all for joining us. I'm signing off. I'm out here at the Star. I'm getting ready to go and get another tour, go to the cafeteria. They got a fabulous cafeteria. They got a fabulous studio. They got a practice facility there. They got shops around the spot, restaurants around the spot. I got a busy evening ahead of me, y'all. It starts now. I hope y'all enjoyed the interview. Until next time, Stephen A. signing off. Peace and love, everybody. Be safe.